Hey everyone, we are having a beer with Bjorn here after a big day at the sales, English Complex, Warwick Farm, joined by the man himself, Bjorn Baker, Henry Field from Newgate, and of course Luke Hilton, Bjorn's racing manager.
And secret weapon.
And the secret weapon, yeah.
Sometimes.
I guess this is where you train, this is your home track. 2011 was your first year?
Yeah.
Big call, right? Like big call, leaving New Zealand. Your dad had a huge business, a lot of horse and training, but you decided, I'm going to Australia, I'm going out my own.
Yeah, and I've recently become an Australian citizen. I'm one of us. But it's been great to me. I love Australian racing. My father always focused on Australian racing. Funnily enough, he's more acclaimed for stayers, where I'm probably more sprinters of anything. And Warwick Farm's come so far in that time. When I came here, it was very much probably the third stringer in terms of the Sydney tracks and in training as well. And now I think we have more horses in work than anyone, and I think we get more winners than anyone too from Warwick Farm. So a lot of the big trainers are based here. Of course, English have come here. And now the Australian racing world essentially revolves around Warwick Farm. We are the centrepiece.
Oh yeah, it might be taking it a bit too far there, Bjorn, but it's a lovely place. I remember when I started Newgate and you started your training business, we had a cup of tea at the first Wakefield when I first leased the farm. We talked about it, and a few of your rival trainers started nicknaming you Baker the Taker, because you were taking a few horses up the other stables and perhaps improving them too.
Yeah, it's hard to train empty boxes.
Sure is.
And no, it's been good. Australia, one thing about, they definitely give the underdog a chance and give you an opportunity. So, and I think I'm not the first trainer that's benefited by that. I love the culture here. It's amazing, and you've got to be aggressive. You need horses to start off with. And funnily enough, I actually worked for Wakefield Stud when I was a student, and I remember for the first time meeting Henry Field, and I think he's a fair bit younger than me. I was 20, and you might have been in your early teens, Henry. I think I've still got your bloodstock agent card.
There you go.
That's true. And I remember Henry, and I was walking over to the races because I went to the Magic Millions that day. Henry said, Testarossa won't get beat. He's the biggest certainty. Put all your money on. I did put all my money on, but I only had $50, so I got about 100 back. I think it was $2.
One by the length of the straight.
And then, funnily enough, we're talking about good colts, and the first time I went back to Magic Millions, I was able to buy a son of Testarossa, who ended up being unencumbered. So it's funny how it works out, but I definitely remember meeting Henry for the first time.
Yeah, I remember very well too. You were quite loud and quite obnoxious, but it's been a great relationship since.
Not much has changed.
So in 15 years, you've gone from Baker the Taker to Baker the Stallion, which is quite a good elevation, Bjorn. Quite a good elevation, and you know we've been mates since you arrived in Sydney, and it's amazing to see. Every year how the stable's progressed and got better and better, but you know the last 12 months it's just been phenomenal how the stable has just really gone from strength to strength, and it's, you know, when they go to the races and they're in the market, they're very hard to beat. Your stable's just flying. And what would you say, Bjorn, Luke? What would you say? Well, I might ask Luke. What would you say has been the key to all the success the stable's had the last year, where it's just been airborne?
I think it's been something that's been building over a number of years, and it's come down to the processes that Bjorn has in place for a number of years now that have just taken a while to get into fruition. You get better staff, you get better quality of horses, starting to get better tracks and things like that. And I think that's all come from sort of a number of years of building that up. I've never seen a stable that's efficiently as run as what our stable is.
For sure. And tell me, Luke, are you good on a forklift? Are you good? Are you a good user of a forklift?
I think the best thing is that Bjorn not stay away from the forklift.
So he doesn't need to use the forklift. Look at this.
We've got some licensed forklift drivers that take over that stuff.
It's interesting. My observation, for what it's worth, and I'm interested to, most importantly, your opinion on this, Bjorn, but I've seen you in the last year. I've never seen a guy more focused, fit. You exercise, you're driven. I've never seen you in such a zone of discipline, focus. It seems to me that really is rubbing off on the stable. And obviously you've been a great trainer for many years, but in the last year, you've just shooting the lights out.
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of different aspects to it, and I think there's a number of things that have come to fruition. I think Luke sort of touched on it, but I've invested a lot in infrastructure in the last couple of years as well. We've got the new stables, which you can see from if you drive to Inglis, more than likely the Big Blue stables. It looks a little bit like Santorini, but they're great. They're all air temperature controlled. We've got sort of automatic waters, rubber mats, rotating feed bins. And it's a really nice environment for the horses, particularly Warwick Farm. It can get a little bit too hot. I think we've been a lot more patient and probably targeting better races with some of our horses, where previously I'd try and hit some of the weaker stakes races early in the preparation with a fitness edge and try and steal them that way. And it's worked a lot. As well as that, I haven't sold a lot of horses. I've sold a lot of horses to Hong Kong previously.
Yes.
Now, with probably buying better quality horses and with the prize money being so good here, there's not quite the need to sell, and it gets harder to. And I think as well as that, we're just getting better horses. I'm very lucky. I think Jim Clark's done a great job. He's buying really good, nice horses, and I've got a really good bunch of loyal clients and who have backed me, and Derby Racing, of course, just keep finding good horses too. So they're a key part of our business, and a number of different things. I think we've got a really good team, and great vet Alan Frogley's heavily involved in the purchasing side. Steve Head, my farrier, I think he's the best farrier that I've ever dealt with. It's hard to compare farriers from everywhere, but he does an amazing job. The feed as well, we use an American nutritionist, which obviously Newgate's very familiar with.
Yes.
It is an interesting game. It's a game that's worth billions worldwide, but there's still a lot of fallacies that come about, and particularly with feeding. But I think the key with our feed regimes, it's consistent. The horses look great.
Yeah.
And I'm really confident they're getting everything they need. We're probably getting a lot of our form right. It's funny because Luke and I, we do a lot of the programming, and we haven't argued yet today, Luke.
Today.
But Luke's definitely not a yes man, and I'm not either. So we do have some robust conversations at times, and I think eventually we sort of nutted out, and I think the last 6 months in particular, we've been getting it more right than wrong. And as well as that, I think, funnily enough, a lot of the races in Sydney, they're tempo related, they're speed related, and it is a little bit playing a game of poker.
Yes.
And I think just thankfully we've got the right hands and we've got our tactics right more often than wrong, and that's definitely a big part of it.
Just looking at numbers, and Bjorn, I don't know if you look at this kind of stuff, but like...
Only when I don't, when I'm going bad. But when I'm going good, I look at it 5 times a day. It's a bit like your bank balance.
Like I think you sort of the last 5 seasons, I think you've been in that sort of high 30s to mid 40s sort of city winners, and then this season I think you're on 68 or something now at Sydney Metro winners, and we're only in early April. Previous 10 stakes winners, this season 20 stakes winners. Like it's just clicking, isn't it? Beautifully. Is that something you look at? Is that something you then look like next season you're trying to beat that, or is it just or more just about you're focusing day to day, trying to get the best out of each day, and that'll sort itself out? Probably more the latter, rather than worrying about numbers, because you can get sort of too focused, and a lot of it comes down to the horses you've got. So I think really we just try and get the best out of every horse, and it's not necessarily where you start off, it's where you finish. And we've had so much luck taking horses out wide and probably developing them and then hitting town with a little bit of probably a ringcraft edge as well as a fitness edge. So from that point of view, it's just really try and look after the individual horse and try and keep them sound and get the best out of them. And we're so lucky, there's so many options in terms of races, all ages, all across the spectrum. It's like the carnivals never end in Australia. So yeah, it's been a great year. It's going to be hard to replicate it next year, but it's all about just trying to get better quality horses.
Talk about Jim Clark, who's a great asset to your team, and Derby Racing, terrific operators. They put Ozzmosis into your stable, bred by China Horse Club, by Zoo Star, out of a really, really top class race mare from that beautiful Ennis Hill family. And I remember the first day he went to the first official barrier trials. He was very impressive.
Yeah, he was. And he wasn't just impressive there. We gave him a jump out at home, and he absolutely dominated that day. And that's where we thought we might have a very, very good horse. And his win in the first trial was phenomenal. And he sort of rounded them up. He was super impressive that day, Luke.
Yeah, he was amazing. And I remember coming back the next day after the trials, and we sort of trotted him up, and the vets kind of weren't a little bit happy with him. And I remember I was kicking stones for 3 days about it because they thought this is the Breeders' Plate.
Yeah, he would have done it based on his trial. He would have done favourite in the Breeders' Plate.
Absolutely, and he was so exciting early on, and that's Chibeth gave him time, and it may have been the best thing for him.
Yeah, I remember I was in the barrier trials like 3 or 4 days after those first trials at Warwick Farm. I mean, he telling me he had a 2-year-old he thought was a freak, and that horse was Ozzmosis, and that was the first time you watch those trials, you know, they can be hit and miss, but that was the first time I thought, I'll keep tabs on this horse, and you guys, you weren't wrong. He came back in the winter time, and geez, he was unbelievably impressive, winning his first 2, didn't he? He was an unbeaten 2-year-old.
Yeah, he was, and his first win at Gosford, James McDonald rode him, and he was very, very smooth that day. He was great, but I remember one of his gallops in between his first win and first start and second start, and I guess I'm lucky at the moment. We've got a load of really good horses, but very rarely now do I sort of get a shiver down my spine, and one of those gallops was just off the scale, just ran time, looked great. We've got the E-trackers on them, and you get that shiver down your spine. It's pretty special because you know they're just top class. And then we looked at the data off the E-tracker, and the time he ran in his recovery was instant. I said the next start, he is the biggest certainty I've ever put down, regardless of where you go, and you're going into a Warwick 2-year-old race, as we know.
With a very highly fancied Adrian Botgay Waterhouse horse. We had a horse in the race too in our syndicate called Sovereign Fund, who all but won the Magic Millions 3-year-old guineas, who got beaten 4. So it was a pretty hot, it was one of those really hot winter 2-year-old form races.
We had 5 winners that day, and look, I don't mind a bet, but I was so confident yet so nervous with Ozzmosis. I said, I'm not having a bet, because if he gets beaten today, I will be in the fetal position for a month. So I didn't have a bet. I still look back, and maybe that's a sign that I should never have a bet, because I didn't have a bet for the rest of the day. But
he came back, his rating was off the Richter scale, like it was a very, very high rating race. And I remembered what you'd said to me just after the first 2-year-old trials the previous September. So I knew what you thought of the horse, and did some more digging. And James McDonald was a massive rap on him from his debut performance. So I knew what you guys thought. I knew what James thought. I knew what the ratings were saying off that race, and we pulled together a bit of a syndicate to try and buy into the horse, and thankfully we were able to, because he really went on to be a crack 3-year-old, and he won the Heritage Stakes, and it's a good horses race, the Heritage Stakes, first really good 3-year-old sprint race this season, and beat a crack field that day. And then he went down to the Coolmore, the trial before the Coolmore.
So once Rach came back, she was just ecstatic. She just said she'd never ever felt anyone adapt to it and go as smoothly as he did that day, and she was so excited to get back for the Coolmore, because she was like, this is him, this is a proper horse, and we're going to give this a shake. So
did Rachel, who rode him in the first trial, the first 2-year-old trial?
Rachel did, yeah.
Yeah, so I remember, because Rachel does a bit of track with him. We were talking about him earlier, right? So he was such an obvious horse, wasn't he? Everyone riding him early was like, this is special.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did what he did at the trials, special. Gallops at home, special. Really interesting. But that day, Coolmore, Aussie, whatever the greatest winning speeches of all time.
Speech. There was
Bjorn the Kiwis shouted Aussie, and the whole crowd.
In the VRC, because of the committee room, no less. And on Derby Day.
Yeah, and it was good fun, and I guess from a training point of view, that win is, I think, the most important one. To win with a commercial stallion, a son of Zoo Star, it's definitely the most important one I've been involved with. So yeah, it was a very, very special day, and with a special horse. Even early days, he was just straightforward, beautiful mover. Every day, just quality. So good horses like that definitely make our job easy, and very lucky to get a horse like
He won his first 4 from 5. Where would you rate him? You've trained some great horses, and it's probably unfair to try and compare, but where would you rate him, just pure natural ability wise? Amongst the horses you've trained, your own name.
Well, I think he's the most naturally gifted horse that I've been involved in from early days, and just natural early. He's just fast and sustained speed, and some of his gallops are just breathtaking.
It's well documented that his recovery rate was like nothing else you've seen in your stable. And it was very interesting that Chris Waller made the comment that Zoostar himself was the same horse that Chris's. I think he said there was no horse or whether it was the best or amongst the best horses he's ever had with his E-Tracker as far as recovery goes. So it's quite phenomenal that Ozzmosis could be that horse from a data point of view in your stable, and Zoostar and Chris's. And it's also quite phenomenal really when you think about the sire line, that Ozzmosis was like that and Zoostar was like that. Zoostar's sire, Northern Media, that obviously won the Coolmore stud stakes as well, and it was a phenomenally naturally fast horse also, and his sire again in Costa Lager, who also won the Coolmore stud stakes. So it's amazing to think that you could have 4 generations of the exact sire line to win what's arguably Australia's it probably is Australia's most important stallion making race.
Yeah, it's funny how it works out, and actually when Chris said that, and E-Track is a big part of what we do, but his recovery is definitely the best I've seen, his data, his speed he could reach. And it's interesting that Chris said that Zoostar had the most amazing recovery. So genetically, undoubtedly, there's got to be something in it. And yeah, I'm still trying to find that horse that can replicate
The next one.
data.
That's the beauty of this game, isn't it?
They're hard to find.
We're always trying to find the next one.
It's a sort of combination of that incredible cardio he had, and then also that speed, like that natural speed, also the biomechanics of having that sort of hind leg, like Northern Media, like in Costa, that real great hind leg where you can actually, to have gate speed, you need to be biomechanically really efficient, right? And he was just you could put him anywhere in a race, couldn't you? Once you taught him to settle, particularly, it was a beautiful job what did with him actually, watching his trials back, because he was always jumping fast and raw. But then, and you let him lead one trial, next trial you got him to settle
harnessed
back,
it,
and you taught him just how to harness exactly. And from there on, he led them all the way in the Coolmore. He jumped, put himself there, took away, and Northern Media did the same thing. Right?
And he could have actually probably gone a fair bit faster too that day. He was very comfortable in terms of where he was at.
Well, he's made it an equally fast stud guide. Like another thing I remember you talking about last time, Bjorn, was his temperament. His temperament and that around the shed has been fantastic. His fertility.
Phenomenal.
That's one of the best in Australia. I covered 192 mares. 1 in 3 of the mares he covered, thanks to the support of Australian breeders or like either stakes performers or stakes producers themselves.
Yeah.
1 in 4 of the mares he covered were 2-year-old winners themselves. So, jumping around.
He's been very, very well supported, and we are going to breed more mares to Ozzmosis this year than any other stallion on our roster. Ozzmosis, we huge believers. He ticks every box, genetically, physically, raw ability, all those things we look for is by a champion sire, and I think he's a really important part to the future of our farm.
Did you hear those numbers, Luke? How are we going to get more boxes? And we will get more boxes too. And this is non-alcoholic. Truly.
Cheers.